$1,000, depending on what you get.
No, Mike said $4,000 should put it in.
That's just for the cost of the hydrant.
No,
That's not
no,
the
he
cost
said
of
$4,000.
labor.
No, he said $4,000 with, if you check around.
Install.
No, if you check around for the right fire hydrant, and, in other words, you're doing your homework, you can get it installed for $4,000.
Every
And get it put in for $4,000.
Every company, every town that I have talked to does not agree with that.
Well, that may be true, but that's what Mike said that he could do it for.
Well,
Well, that was his labor, town labor. He would put it in. He was talking of.
Probably if he was working for the city and he had the hydrant from, and I mean, he poked around on getting deals a lot of times. So I'm guessing that that's probably what it was.
well, we all poke around on getting deals, so.
It's something we'll have to get
We'll have
an
to,
accurate read on the costs.
Yes.
The first thing is to identify the real problem with them.
Identify the problems.
If it is true that part of the town isn't being serviced right now, that's of utmost importance, even if new lines have to be dug. Because, and I, like Audrey said that was true, Mike said that was true, and if that comes up on that report, I think it's of utmost importance that that gets taken care of. The city has to be covered.
There's a liability involved, you're right.
Absolutely. And not only that, if the insurance companies get wind of it, there's gonna be real trouble.
well, I
Part
think-
of your home insurance is the availability of your water
Yeah,
supply.
exactly.
the problem is that none of those hydrants, and they're, usually if you have to hook onto a hydrant, you're gonna have to hook hose upon hose upon hose to get that water where you want it to go.
Well, that's why we need more hydrants.
Well, you find the money for us and we'll get some.
That's just what we're going
That's
to
what we need to
discuss.
use this money for you're talking about. I think it's of utmost importance.
It's something that we're going to discuss next week. First off, identifying what the report says and identifying the problem.
But there again, that money, over the years, they've had the money to do that. They could have started replacing
Well,
and
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
putting,
Not with $5,000 a year. No way.
but if they would have
Well, in
looked
13
at the
years,
budget, they could.
$5,000 a year, we'd have replaced everything on this side of the road, or this side of the highway. Cause there's 13 hydrants.
Yes,
Well, that's true. But there's also.
Very true.
But there are also expenses. What he had to do was, he had to buy extremely long hose so that he could connect those trucks so that he could reach those other places, because the hydrants didn't work. That's where a lot of the money went. So, you know, he's had expenses to deal with. And, you know, you can't just say that, you know, you can take
well
that
then Mike
$5,000.
needs to come to the meetings
Well,
and,
$5,000 isn't a big budget to run a fire department.
no,
You know,
but
I would
that's-
say
there
you'd have
again,
to pinch pennies.
there again, if we discuss this and we move some of that money, not the money that not the program income money, but we do have unallocated funds at this point.
And that's what we'll have to look at then,
Right,
Right now,
and we're
let's-
going to have to pass a resolution to move those funds.
move along.
But there's a lot
I
of
have
homework,
toilets calling my name.
and
clean.
a lot of research to do before we make a decision. And I need some hard numbers, not from Elton, but from Mike. He needs to come to the meetings and
We need
present
hard
his,
numbers on the actual costs.
yes, yes,
And the number that we need.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, I wanna know what shape they're in.
Most of them are old.
If they haven't been
I think
tested,
except for
that's
three,
a problem.
right, I think except for 3 new meters in town, maybe 2 new ones and 1 used one, or rebuilt one. And it depends. If you're gonna rebuild a meter, what are you gonna have to pay for it? Does it need a new valve? Does it need a new box?
Yeah,
Does it
is
need-
it cheaper to buy a new one?
You need
Right.
a hydrant.
Yeah, well, there's parts to a hydrant. There's, you have the
Yes.
valves, you have the hydrant, the box itself, you've got, you know, different kinds of things. You need to know what those parts encompass and how much they're gonna
Screw
cost.
Lanes,
If you're gonna
testing
buy a
and see where the
rebuilt
I
one.
agree.
problem's at. See
And
if they-
if it's gonna cost, a rebuilt one, it's
2
gonna
years
cost
ago.
close to a brand new
2
one,
years ago, I looked at hydrants.
then we need to
2 years
look
ago?
at that.
2 years ago, I looked at hydrants, and I could get a hydrant out of just a standard, cut the line, put it in, $2,500 for
Oh,
one
really?
hydrant.
Well, it's-
For one hydrant.
Email us the
Then they
information,
had-
Gordon, please.
And that was all over the phone. So the other hydrant, which is more expensive, is if you do what they call a hot connect.
Mhm,
So you don't
mhm,
shut the line off, you just put it on the.
right,
Anyway,
right.
so there's that one as well, that could be a little more expensive.
Yeah,
But there again, for every hydrant in town, sooner or later, because of the conditions, we're gonna have to replace them. But when we do replace them, we're going to have to install gate valves. Otherwise, we're gonna have most of the town, if we have a problem, we're gonna have pretty much most of that part of town
Shut off.
without water. Each
Oh, that'd
hydrant
be-
should have a gate valve. I don't know why they don't, but they don't.
You-
I don't
every
think you
hydrant?
need, I personally don't think you need each hydrant to have a gate valve. What I do think you need is you put it in sections,
Mhm.
and then you shut a line off, have one shut off that may, and
and they're looped,
You could do.
you said
you could do-
13
yeah,
Yeah,
hydrants?
yeah, on this side of the,
Okay, so
right.
if
Highway.
there's 13 hydrants over here, $2,500 a piece, that's 32,000.
Mhm.
yeah,
So if you take and put the lines, your fire suppression system in sections,
Mhm.
and then on 13, you do four or five hydrants at
A
a
year.
time,
yeah.
and do that line. No matter, and it all depends on how your water system is ran.
So you're talking about replacing the actual water lines also?
No.
No,
No, I'm talking about I'm
Just
just
run line
talking
from
about
the
replacing the
hydrant
hydrant.
into the
And
main.
she was talking about putting a gate valve for each one, and I'm saying
No, I
don't put a gate
I meant to
valve.
say for each section, Gordon, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
but either way, that's what I would look at doing.
Yeah, but gate valves are not cheap either. Plus, labor to install them and everything else. And as far as I know, the town, according to the state, the town maintenance people are responsible to fix, maintain, and replace those hydrants.
So we're responsible for testing?
No, we're not. The fire department should test those meters every single year. The hydrants, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
That is not only state law, but it's federal law.
Let's save it for the next meeting, when it's on the agenda,
yeah.
and, get back to the budget.
We have added it to the agenda though, right?
I told Brenda I'd like to add it on.
And if the
So-
guy that's telling everybody in town that they're all shot would like to show up, that would be convenient.
Well, Shirley said she has the state report, the last one.
Yeah,
And we all
the
have a
state,
copy of
yeah,
that, we can look
I'll
at.
I'll have Brenda make a copy of it.
I think it'd be nice if you could get Mike a copy of that.
Mike should have a copy, he's
He
a
didn't
fire
even
chief.
he didn't even have a copy of that PER that, the Lagoon Company.
Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I didn't say he didn't, I said he doesn't now.
Well, of course he
And
doesn't,
he
because
doesn't.
he's no longer working with the town.
He didn't have one he didn't have one at the fire station either. He doesn't have it, he doesn't have access to it. So in other words, all the
Because Mike
documents.
worked for the city and he was a fire chief. There is a copy of everything in the town hall, there's a copy of everything at the city shop where he was at every single day, as long as this has been going on. No, that's not an excuse.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had a
How
mighty
much?
hard time finding a copy of that PER from the Lagoon people, and nobody's coughed up one yet.
Go into City Hall, ask Brenda, she's got it right in there in a drawer.
I asked, funny, believe me, I asked.
How much more do you have on the budget? Because I'm running out of time.
Yeah, me too.
We're about done. I just wanted to make sure that you guys look through the budget, please. See where you can find some monies. Look at the unallocated funds at the bottom of that page. See where you wanna move some of those monies. We cannot pass a final budget submitted to the state with tons of unallocated funds.
Okay,
Uh, When will we have our final state figures
that's what I was gonna
for
ask.
September? I mean,
We
you
have
said
to, we have to
September.
do the final budget by the
Now,
second
when are we
Thursday
going to have the final state figures? You said hadn't come in.
September.
in September. Some of them don't even come in until October, but we still have to do a projection.
We have to submit this before
And-
we even
and-
get those.
Right, we still have to project our revenue and get it submitted to the state on the second Thursday of September.
I put everything that we got extra into street funds, and then if we have to, we can remove them
We're
from.
gonna have to keep some set aside in a special restricted fund or a special fund or
For
a
what purpose?
contingency
Some-
fund or
some.
whatever,
The
just for
government
emergency
Okay.
purposes, yeah, because you never know
And,
what's
and what's the
gonna go
header
on.
for
Yeah.
that fund?
Just a restrictive, fund or contingency fund,
Are those funds, frozen then?
yes,
They are.
yes.
And whatever you put in that fund is frozen.
Yes, and we don't have to put everything in that fund, we
I
can
wouldn't.
parcel it
How
out to
do
where
you
we,
get it out
you know,
then?
where we can,
Yeah,
but we
need a
can use it
resolution.
because it will be for emergency funds.
Could you not go in and put in the same amount you had last year into that frozen fund?
We
And
didn't
move
have any,
everything else? You didn't have any.
no,
So that frozen fund, then we vote on when we need to take it out, right?
we have to pass a resolution to
Do
move
you?
those
Okay.
funds into a different line, budget line item,
Okay.
yeah. And every time we wanna move that, after we
Yeah.
pass the final budget, approve the final budget and get it submitted to the state, we will have to go through a resolution process in order to do that. We can't just willy-nilly move them.
That's fine.
So look at your budgets,
Mm-hmm.
come up with some ideas, let's get that done before
When
the
do you, okay, I was
council
gonna
meeting.
ask you, when would you like to have that completely buttoned up?
By the Friday before the meeting,
Before our next meeting?
yeah, before the 10th is our
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay.
So if we can get pretty much our numbers down where we want them, where you guys can look at that and say, okay, this is good, and see what you wanna do, then we can get that final
See that
budget
part.
approved at the September 10th meeting.
So that would be Wednesday, September 5th, that approves the final budget.
Well,
Is
that, just to get your numbers before
Yeah.
the approval of the
Yeah,
final budget.
That would be the last,
Well, we're gonna have to get those to you so you can make the changes before the
Right.
meeting, right?
Right, and you can write it on your budget sheet, or
drop it off.
make a note
And
and
drop
just
it off?
drop it off
Okay.
to Brenda.
All right.
Or you can email me, with it,
Okay.
and,
Who's that one at?
we'll get it together and, go from there.
Okay,
And it doesn't have to be something that, you know, we do not have to have like our projection, revenue projection. We
Right.
won't get a lot of the information from different agencies.
we just gotta clean it up.
And yes, until even after September, but we
Okay.
have to have the budget approved and submitted to the state
Okay.
in September.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn this special meeting.
No, second.
Bill's in a hurry to get home, so I have a
I don't get to
motion,
go home, I get to go to work.
have a motion to adjourn this meeting, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Say, Shirley,
This meeting is adjourned.
has anybody ever thought about selling those cop cards, being that they're not gonna use them?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, but we have to get, you know, we've had so much going on, we haven't even
Yeah.
had a chance to discuss
Yeah,
that.
we'll get rid of
Not
them.
We
gonna
have-
get rid of them.
Yeah,
We
I'm just
have,
thinking,
about
there's-
5 people interested in that
If we
problem.
do do
Yeah.
those tests, they could be wiped
And the
out.
older
One of
one,
us
I don't know,
from with
you
the
know.
heart
Well,
test knows
let's,
that.
go to work. Before we sell that, let's
Yeah.
When's
talk.
the first football game?
Oh, yes,
No,
yeah.
so that mine was-
No, we're not gonna just
So it'd be good to do that.
outright sell it.
And it'd be something
have
for us
to
to
be
learn as
discussed.
well.
We can't do anything like that without
Good.
discussion.
I agree.
Cause at least that way then we're, everybody
When
visually
they do
knows.
those testing on those hydrants, it'd be nice to have somebody with them from the
Yeah,
council.
one of us, so
I've
then that
never
way,
seen him test it.
at least that way we know
I've never
for a
seen it
fact and
I
heck,
have,
even
the
if-
only hydrant I've ever seen them open is just before Fromberg days, and they open this one on the corner and flood the street and go, and that's, they clean the street, that's it.
Yep,
That's the only time I've ever seen them open the valve.
yep.